Today we're going to talk about human impact. The goal of this video is to describe how humans impact the environment and biodiversity. Let's start by discussing the concept of sustainability. Sustainability is a balance between Earth's resources, human needs, and the needs of other species. The big question is it possible for humans to live sustainably? Carbon footprints can help us answer that question. So, what is a carbon footprint? A carbon footprint is a measure of the amount of carbon that's emitted and its environmental impact. The carbon footprint of humans reveals the impact that we're having on the environment through the emission of carbon. One of the biggest problems to live sustainably and decrease our carbon footprint is our constant and never ending need for resources and energy sources. There are two types of resources. Renewable resources are those that are produced or replenished more quickly than they are consumed. For example, oxygen, wood, water, sunlight, and wind. Non renewable resources are those that are consumed and used more quickly than they are created. Examples of these would be fossil fuels, metal, and plastic. So now that you know the difference between renewable and non-renewable resources, pause the video and think about some problems that might arise if humans rely mostly on non-renewable resources. Now let's talk about the role of technology in human impact on the environment. Technology both contributes to air, water, and land pollution, and it provides clean energy, waste management, and pollution cleanup. In other words, it can have both a negative and a positive impact depending on how it's used. There are three main types of technology that currently influence sustainability. The first is agricultural technology. The goal of agricultural technology is to increase food productivity, and there are pros and cons to this kind of technology. The pros are contour farming. Now, what's that? Well, contouring means farming with row patterns, as you can see in this image. The rows form hundreds of small dams that slow water flow and increase infiltration to reduce erosion. Contour farming can reduce soil erosion by as much as 50% compared to up and downhill farming. And by reducing sediment and runoff and increasing water infiltration, contouring promotes better water quality. So this is a good thing. Contour farming is a good thing. Another pro of agricultural technology is the use of fertilizers. So we can increase food production by enhancing nutrients in the soil, and we do that through the use of fertilizers, and this allows plants to grow more efficiently. We also use irrigation systems. This is a pro of agricultural technology, and irrigation is just the artificial application of water to the soil through tubes, pumps, and sprays. And you can see in this image a piece of machinery that's spraying things on these plants. Irrigation is usually used in areas where rainfall is irregular or drought is expected. That's beneficial because you can then grow crops in areas that you could not under natural conditions. Another pro of agricultural technology is farm machinery. Farm machinery helps with all the other pros that I just described. But there are cons, and one of the cons is the fertilizers. Even though fertilizers have a positive impact, they also have a negative impact. The excessive nutrients in the fertilizer can run off from the soil into a body of water like a lake or a river that's nearby. And those nutrients cause excessive algae to grow in those bodies of water. And the excessive algae blocks sunlight from entering the water. And this results in aquatic plants performing photosynthesis at a slower rate. And if they're performing photosynthesis at a slower rate, they're not producing as much oxygen. So that reduces the amount of oxygen available for the aquatic life. Another con is the farm machinery itself. The farm machinery uses or runs on fossil fuels. which puts carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Okay, a second type of technology is alternative energy technology. And the goal of this type of technology is to provide clean energy to power society without negatively impacting the atmosphere. The pro is that this decreases the burning of fossil fuels and uses renewable resources such as sunlight, wind, water, and nuclear power. The con is that this type of technology is very expensive and nuclear energy creates radioactive waste. The third type of technology is industrial technology. The goal of this type of technology is to increase manufacturing efficiency, transportation, and communication. The pro is that it improves communication, makes faster transportation, and cheaper industries. The con, though, is that it creates CFCs. These are chlorofluorocarbons, and they're from foam packing material and refrigerants. And these CFCs, this is the important part, the CFCs deplete the ozone layer. That's a big cost. Another con is that burning fossil fuels increases greenhouse gases and produces acid rain. And acid rain lowers pH, leaches soil nutrients, and changes aquatic pH. Now, a moment ago, I said that burning fossil fuels increases the production of greenhouse gases. So let's talk about the greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect is the normal warming effect when gases trap heat in the atmosphere. Just as heat from the sun is trapped inside a greenhouse, so heat from the sun gets trapped inside Earth's atmosphere by a wall of gases and water vapor. These gases are called greenhouse gases. This would be carbon dioxide, oxygen, methane, that's CH4, and water, H2O. Again, they trap heat energy from the sun and maintain Earth's temperature range. They also prevent heat from escaping back outside the atmosphere. Now, once you have an understanding of the greenhouse effect and greenhouse gases, you can better understand how humans contribute to and accelerate climate change. CFCs deplete the ozone layer, which allows more of the sun's UV rays to get in, and that will make Earth hotter. Now, the key contributor here is the burning of fossil fuels. When you're burning fossil fuels, you're performing combustion, and combustion releases extra carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and this increases the amount of greenhouse gases and it increases Earth's overall temperature. Let's finish up by talking about how humans impact biodiversity. Biodiversity is the total amount of variation of life on Earth. High biodiversity reflects a healthy ecosystem. Humans can threaten biodiversity, though, through a number of ways, the first of which is habitat destruction. For example, where I grew up, a tunnel was built through a mountain to create a shorter driving route for cars. Rather than have to go up and over the mountain, you can just go straight through it. It reduces driving time. That's a pro. However, there was a river at the base of the mountain that was completely destroyed and all the animals in it in the process. A second way that humans threaten biodiversity is through pollution. Humans contribute to pollution. For example, much of our trash ends up in our oceans. Last, humans have introduced lots of invasive species to various ecosystems, whether their introduction of the species was intentional or unintentional. An invasive species is a non-native species introduced into an ecosystem, and the important bit is that it negatively impacts that ecosystem. The water hyacinth, which is what the image here shows, is an example of an invasive species. It forms these dense colonies that block sunlight and kill aquatic organisms. To sum up, we've seen a variety of ways that humans impact the environment and biodiversity.